What's up, guys? I'm Alex Duran. Thanks for tuning in to Corrections Unlocked. On today's episode, we're going to go over manipulation in a prison. How easy is it for a correctional officer to get manipulated? It happens like that. When you're most vulnerable, when you least expect it. I've seen officers get manipulated, and it's not always the obvious ones, the ones that you suspect. Sometimes it's some of the most hardest, baddest people we think are officers, when in reality they're just being manipulated or they're corrupt. So how can we avoid this? How can we stay ahead of the game and catch when somebody's trying to manipulate us? This is something that can be very difficult as a newer officer, but this is going to happen throughout your career. As a newer officer, as a seasoned officer, as a newer sergeant, as a lieutenant, and all the way up. Inmates will always try to test you. They will always try to manipulate you. That's part of the game. If I was an inmate, I'd do the same thing. So it's all about how you carry yourself, what you allow yourself to talk about around your partner and around inmates, and when you catch somebody manipulating you or trying to manipulate you, how you react and how you carry yourself and what you do about it. So a few tips that have helped me along the way. And if this is something that has already happened to you, I'd appreciate it if you share your experience with this. But one thing I always think that has helped me, or I've seen help officers, is something as simple as how you carry yourself, your body language. If you're carrying yourself and you're clean cut and you look professional and you're not slouched over, you look sloppy, in my opinion, you already look like somebody that's not going to be easy to manipulate. You look like you carry yourself well. You look like you're structured. That's going to be seen by the inmate population. And I think they're going to think twice about trying to manipulate somebody that carries himself that well. So one, presence. Carry yourself well. Make sure your grooming standards, you actually take care of yourself in your uniform, and have command presence. When an inmate approaches you, when an inmate's talking to you, have command presence. That's the first thing when it comes to manipulation. The second thing that I like to talk about is you need to be careful with what you talk about around inmates. Now, I know you see this all the time. Inmates will constantly try to get in your personal space or constantly try to get into an area where they can hear you talking, whether it's you talking on the phone or you talking to your partner. It happens all the time. We get complacent with it. We don't think of it. But inmates also need to know that you know what they're doing. So as an officer, I'd always address it. Hey man, I don't appreciate you coming over here sweeping for 10, 15 minutes while I'm talking to my partner about stuff. So why don't you take it over there? I'll call you in over here when I need you to clean this area up. Thank you, man. It's that simple, it's that easy, but you need to address it. Because if you keep avoiding it, guess what? He's going to spend more time in that area cleaning. He's going to spend more time in your personal business and knowing more about you than you actually should be revealing. We get very complacent with when we're talking to our partners, and we share a lot of personal business. This is stuff that does not need to be known to the inmate population. And remember, inmates have all day long to try to read you as an officer and to think about everything you talked about. So one, if an inmate's in your personal space or in an area where you're talking about personal business, make sure you address it with him so that way he knows you know what he's doing. That's something you need to do. A lot of new officers get complacent with this, but you need to address it. And the third thing is, when you're at a low in your career and you're going through something, whether it's debt or being divorced or struggling with depression, be careful with how you carry yourself at work. If you're one of those guys or girls where you express all your feelings and emotions to everybody and you can tell something's easily wrong with you, be careful when you do that when you're going into a prison. You're a prison guard, you're a security officer, you're there to protect and serve. So be cautious of how you're carrying yourself when you're dealing with these situations. Inmates are going to pick up on that very well, and they're going to read that, and then they're going to start questioning you. They're going to start asking you stuff. And the reason why I bring that up is because some of these inmates are very powerful. So if you're talking about being divorced and he knows that you live in Fresno, California, and what area you're from, guess what? He might tell you something as, hey man, I know a few girls that are real pretty around your age. They'd want to hang out with you, or maybe go to the bar. If you're up for it, I'll hit them up. Does that sound cool? Yeah. But what's the catch? The catch is you do that and meet these girls, he has you hooked now. Now those girls are going to start manipulating you because they work for him. So something as simple as that can get you into a whole lot more mess than you actually expect. If you're an ISU officer, if you've done investigations on staff, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're a newer officer, be cautious of these things. You don't need to open up a door that you don't need to be going through. So be cautious of these things. Manipulation is something that's going to happen every day. As a newer officer, inmates are going to manipulate you more and more and more. But what you allow and how you carry yourself and what you address is ultimately going to define you as an officer, and it's going to stop people manipulating you as much as they shouldn't be doing it all, but it's going to stop them from doing it. That's all I got, guys, on manipulation. This is something I wanted to talk about. It's something that's happening all the time, and it's something we need to be cautious of, and we need to know how to address when it happens. Thank you, guys. I'm Alex Duran.